All right. All right. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Again, like if you haven't already noticed, this is a new this is a new background and everything. I'm in a totally different room, different setup, everything. So hopefully everything's working correctly. That would be absolutely great. um, I'm going to check on it though. Let me see. Just to make sure. One sec. Can anybody hear me? I don't know if anybody can hear me or not. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Yes. Great. All right. All right. So tonight we're going to do more of the Trinity, right? Hopefully we get the right people on tonight, and we actually talk about the Trinity this time. We're not going to be talking about the law or anything else. We can do that in another stream, which is, I mean, I think it's pretty simple about the law and, you know, what Paul wrote and everything else, right? Because it all just mixes together so well. So, you know, with that being said, I think we can, you know, kind of lay some groundwork here while we're waiting. If anybody wants to jump in, here's the code. Now, before we get completely started here, if y'all want to, now I really want to do this full time, right? I want to do this full time. Like and subscribe to this channel, right? Like this video, share it, right? If you want to donate, it's in the description below. So again, I want to do this for a living, debate the Trinity, you know, talk to atheists, spread the gospel, right? That's what I want to do, is spread the gospel and to teach the Bible and different, you know, essential Christian beliefs. And that's what I want to do, right? So yeah, if you want to help, it's in the description below. Go check that out. Yeah. So without further ado, I like this new setup, man. What y'all think? I like this new setup. You know, my books are right here instead of like way off in the back. We actually cleared this area out in another room, so I've got this little corner here. It's pretty great. I really enjoy it. It is pretty great. Let me see. Just testing everything, making sure everything's good. I'm streaming on 2 different platforms here, so I'm trying to make sure everything's good. While we're waiting. So actually, while we're waiting, we can answer this right here. This is Mr. Steve, right? So he came on last stream, and this is the one that we went on about the law and everything. So he says, question 1, is man made in the image and likeness of God? Yes. Okay. Simple yes. Question 2, does God fit the description of the Trinity that you teach? And then surely man should fit the same description if he is in the image and likeness of God. So the problem with this is that we're trying to put God in a box, limitations that has to fit. In order to make God make sense, right? We have to fit him in our little box, and we have to put him in that little box, right? Where he can't go anywhere else outside of what fits with his creation. And I don't think that's correct. I don't think that you can look at God like that. Now, what he brought up before was the body, soul, and spirit, right, of a human, and he's trying to connect that with the Godhead, right, the Trinity. But the major problem here is that you're not understanding the personages of the Father, Son, and Spirit, the distinct personages. And I would love to talk about that tonight. So yeah, let's talk about it. So are we made in the image of likeness of God? Absolutely yes. But of whose image? Who is the image of the invisible God? Jesus. Jesus is the image of the invisible God, right? Colossians 1:15. Okay. And so if Jesus, the Son, if he is the image of the invisible God, right? No man can see him. Okay. No one can come to him. No one can approach him, right? He is invisible, right? We can't see him. No one has ever seen God, but it's the one, the unique one, the Son of God, who has revealed him to us. Okay. And that was one of the main things that he wanted to do, was to reveal the Father to us, right? So I think when it says that we are made in the image and likeness of God, that's exactly what that is, right? But we look and resemble the Son of Man. And so, that's what I think. Because again, the image of the invisible God, right? And Christ became his creation. Okay. But Christ was before his creation. Okay. So when Colossians 1:17 says that he is before all things and all things hold together by him, right? It's clear. Let me set it. Took this off for some reason. Okay. There we go. All right. Let me see. Yeah, here it is. Okay. All right. So this is one of the passages that I want to go over tonight. Hopefully we talk, we can talk to different people and everything. And anybody that wants to shed some light on, the Trinity, or, wants to go against the Trinity, the link is in the description below. Come on board and we'll talk. But again, so if we look at, let's see, let's go to, again, Colossians chapter 1. Okay. That's what it says. Verse 15. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. Okay. Who is the he? Well, Jesus, right? Christ. Right here. He has delivered us from the domain of darkness and transferred us to the kingdom of his beloved Son, Jesus Christ, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sins. Okay. And then that's who this next verse is talking about, right? He, Jesus, is the Son, is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For by him all things were made, or were created, in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, right? Whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things were created, right, through him and for him. Okay. So there's three things to look at here. Okay. It is by him, okay, through him, all right, and then for him. Okay. All right. So all things were created by the Son, for the Son, and through the Son. Right? Verse 17, and he is before all things. So he existed before all things, and in him all things hold together. So that's what I was referring to a little bit earlier. Let's see. Who is the one? He, Jesus, right? The Son of God. Okay. Again, he is the image of the invisible God. So Jesus Christ, the Son of God, okay, he is the beginning of all things. Okay. He is before. Sorry, I had to stretch. He is before all things, right? And all things hold together. Okay. So, I mean, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, right? Whether on earth and in heaven, making peace by the blood of his cross. Who? The Son's cross. Okay. The image of the invisible God. There he is, Mr. Steve. What's going on, man? If he is the image of the invisible God, how many persons is that? That's two. Okay, that's the image and then the invisible God. See, so Jesus again calls himself and the Father two people. Okay, and so if he can do that, he's fully God, right? Then that separates. And again, I want to talk to you about this stuff because this is, let's see, was that what he looks like? Who looks like? Is that what he looks like? Who's the he? If you're talking about the Father, then no, the Father is formless. The Father is spirit. No, that's not at all what he's talking about. He's saying who is bearing witness. Okay, right. So he puts us in there. He puts John the Baptist in there as one of the witnesses. He puts all of us individually as the witnesses to him, right? So everybody that he puts as a witness, right, that testifies, that actually verbally testifies, are persons, different persons, right, different people. And so he puts him, the Father, and the Spirit distinctively bearing witness. So no, he does not look like two people. I don't even know what that means. But again, I have the, if you want to talk about it, the link is in the description. Go ahead and, or not the description, it's in the comment section. So go ahead. I want to talk about this with you. Formless, but Jesus is his image, right? Okay, here it is. What's going on, man?
How are you? Yeah, no, I'm well, thank you. Have I got my sound working there? Oh yeah, no, I can hear all good. How are you? You can hear me?
I can hear you great. Yeah.
Cool, man.
Sound
so
good.
if Jesus is the form of the invisible God, then Jesus obviously, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory that he's the form. So whatever form he took, however many persons he appears as, then that is going to be how many persons God is, isn't it? Because he's the image. So
no, that wouldn't follow, because again, like he is the way that we can see the Father. So that's
yeah,
the
he's the image of the Father. He's the incarnation of the Father.
No. He. Okay, we can go into like Philippians 2, right? But the point here is that you know, when you said that you know, it doesn't matter how many persons he appears to be.
Yeah,
See,
because he's the image
assuming,
of the.
that's assuming that Jesus is the full God. And
Well,
he's not.
you teach that the full God is three persons. So what is that as an image then?
Well, again, Jesus is the image, right? And I mean, the Holy
Well,
Spirit is a
yeah.
spirit, right? And then the
So,
Father is also spirit.
so
So
was Jesus actually a conjoined twin, like three people as one being?
No, I think you're confusing the two persons thing.
Well, no, you say three persons, don't you? Three persons, all conjoined as one being, just taking up the essence, the space of one being. There's not, they can't stand on separate sides of the room from each other because they're one being.
Yeah, so I think we need to adjust the term here of person. Okay, you're mistaking a person for just a human being.
Well,
that'd be right.
A person has the ability to think, act, and I think I've heard God Logic say he uses the word choose or something, make a choice.
Right.
But the point, I mean, one of the things I said in the last stream is that the Father cannot act on his own. He doesn't act. When he acts, he speaks, and it's his word that then creates and does the action. So the Father doesn't have that aspect of action on his own, but his action is his word, and he is personified in his word. But it's just one person, and when we then see the image of God, which Jesus is the image of the invisible word, we're only looking at one person, unless you are suggesting he is a conjoined triplet, a conjoined triplet, where it would be, being three persons.
I don't know why he couldn't just be like us. I don't know why he has to be a conjoined triplet.
Well, because when I asked you if you would describe a human as three persons, you said no, that would be stupid. And you're right, it would be stupid, but it is also stupid to describe the Godhead as three persons in one being.
That's the thing. Like you're
But it's the exact same thing.
No, it's not. So you're misunderstanding the personages of the Trinity. Okay, so so a person would have to think, right? Yep. Have a will, okay? Have a choice, do certain things, right?
So what can the Father do?
Well, so the Bible says that the Father speaks.
But then you're saying that the Word is a separate person, so it's not. So is it
right.
the Father, or are you saying that a word?
Well, it says that he was with the Father from all eternity.
But your words, like in your brain, aren't they? Before they actually come out. So the word would be in the mind of the Father.
That would be in the aspect of like eternity, right? Before he became flesh.
But words are in your mind. Words are in your mind before you say them.
Right. But the problem here, okay, is that the Word emptied himself and became flesh. So what you're confusing with, like, just because it says the Word, right, the divine logos, okay, you're taking that and you're saying, well, it's just like the words that are coming out of my mouth. That's not true, because again, if we look into what Scripture says, right, the Father speaks to the Son or speaks about the Son, okay, in Hebrews chapter 1, verse 10. Okay, he says, "You, Lord, laid the foundations with your hands," speaking about the Son.
Yeah, but the Bible also says that the Father created. It's
exactly. So that's the two persons working together to create all things.
It's the mind that's then projecting the word, and the word creates, but it's still just.
But see, that's the problem, because the Father has a mind, the Son has a mind, and the Spirit has a mind.
But they don't have all of the elements of personhood, though.
They do.
Not individually.
Yes, they do. I mean, absolutely, they do.
The holy, I mean, I've spoken with God Logic. He said that the Father doesn't have a body, is something that he said to me. So, and whereas when we read in Isaiah, the Father reveals his arm, and you're probably now going to go, oh well, it's not a literal arm.
No, it's not.
And exactly, and it's like
that is acceptable. That ought to be acceptable when you read the Bible and you can see the differences.
No, because the Father,
So
he
everything
has
in the
he
Bible
has
is literal then.
unless you want to make it up as you go along. Have you got that authority?
Okay, if God is said to be spirit, formless, invisible in many
Yeah.
different passages, if that is God, then he cannot possibly have an arm.
Have you ever seen a celestial body?
Have you?
No.
Okay.
So
No.
how are you going to tell me it hasn't got an arm?
Okay. Explain, because I don't know where you're getting at with this.
Well, the celestial body is
Mhm.
the invisible God, and
Okay.
Jesus is the image of the invisible God.
There you go.
So he is the terrestrial body that is the image of the celestial body,
Mhm.
and Jesus has an arm.
Okay, great.
Therefore, the celestial body has an arm, and the Father has a celestial body,
Mhm.
and the Father incarnated
Does not
in
have an arm, and no, it is not
he revealed
the
his
Father that
arm.
is incarnated.
The Father
Father does not.
revealed his arm, and you didn't get the message.
No. So here's the thing again,
Get
right?
up Isaiah 53:1 on the screen for a moment.
Yeah. You already did that last stream, okay? That doesn't say anything, okay?
I think I got
That
up
that doesn't
52:10
go
last time.
that doesn't go anywhere.
I got up 52:10 last time,
52:10. What was the
and I said 53:1 this time.
53:1? Okay, hang on. My apologies. Okay.
However, 52:10 did include that he laid his arm bare
Yeah, I
before the
remember, but
sight
that
of the
again,
nations.
that
But
doesn't that doesn't even say anything to what we're talking about. Just because it says that God laid his hand down or his arm down, that doesn't mean anything. So what is it? 53:1.
53:1.
Okay. Let me pull it up. There it is. Can you see that at all?
Yeah, I can see that. Yep.
Okay.
Who has believed what he has heard from us, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? So the
Mhm.
Lord's revealed his arm. So if you haven't seen it, then you're late to the party. If you don't know that the Lord has an arm after he's revealed it, you're late to the party.
Yeah, I think you're misunderstanding the symbolism to the arm.
I think you missed seeing it, mate, when he revealed it.
No, bro. I think what it is that you're taking two right now little passages out of context, right? Now,
No,
just hear me out. Listen, and then
no,
you're miscrediting the other passage.
let me stop you, because you said that I took two passages out of context. We are now on to about the sixth passage or something. We started talking
No.
about
I'm
the
talking about
invisible
Isaiah
image.
52. I'm talking
Yeah,
about the arm
yeah.
thing. I'm
But
talking about
you've got to pull it all together. We're talking
yeah.
about the image of the invisible God. We're
Yes.
talking about him revealing his arm.
Uh-huh.
And you're not seeing it.
You're not
You've got
seeing the
fog. You've
symbolism.
got
You're not
fog
seeing the
over your
symbolism.
eyes.
You're not seeing the symbolism, man.
But you're worshipping a conjoined triplet, man. If you have
If you say
three
so,
persons,
yeah. If you say so, I guess.
it has to be, mate. If it's three persons that are in
Can we go through the actual
as
passages that
one
I'm trying to go
being,
through instead of just looking at one passage that says that he laid down his arm or he revealed
as
his
I
arm?
say, dude, we've looked at multiple passages now, and you're
No,
trying to
I
say that
want to
we've
go
looked
through
at
it
one,
because
but
the
you, you've
overwhelming
you've got
the
to pull it all
overwhelming
together, though.
evidence of the Trinity is incredible. That's all I got. Like again, whenever I said that the three persons of the one God has a mind, each one, okay, and you just wrote that off. Why'd you write that off?
I can accept that they can think individually and they have that, but they can't all act, and they're not all persons. They come
But
together as
under
one
what?
person,
So why can't they? Why
because
can't
that's
they?
not because they're not a person. They're one
That's what the
person together.
Bible. That's how the Bible describes the three persons of the Trinity.
Right.
Exactly.
So I've said to you,
Mhm.
what does the Father do? What is the action of the Father? Give me in the Bible one place where the Father, and I mean the Father, I don't want the word shows up in a burning bush. I don't want I don't want it to be any of the examples where it's the Word or the Son that's the incarnation of the Word when he took on flesh. Give me one place in the Bible where the Father makes an action.
So which one do you want? Like what kind of action do you want?
Just one. As I say, every time the Father acts, it is either by his word or by the arm that he's revealed. But
so, wait, hang on. So here's the problem, right? What you just said is that you just distinguished the arm from the word.
They're basically the same.
They are the same. That's what it is. They are the same.
That's because the Father has a body.
The Father has a body.
And he can speak.
So the Father's not spirit then. The Father's not spirit?
He has a celestial body, which is spirit.
No.
And he incarnated into a terrestrial body, which is Jesus, like us. Look, because we're made in his image and likeness.
He is invisible.
But Jesus is his visible image. But Jesus
Can you see a spirit? Can you see a spirit?
When I joined, you were reading a verse saying that Jesus is the image of the invisible God.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I'm asking you another question so that we can try to
but Jesus has the image of a single person like you and me. He has an arm. He speaks words. He's made because he made man.
Is a single person, yes.
Because he made man in his image and likeness, and there's just one person, and Jesus is one person.
No,
there's one person of God, and Jesus is God.
No, because again, well, yeah, Jesus is God. Absolutely, you have to have that, and I think without that, with that, you have the Trinity, and you have to acknowledge the Trinity. If you acknowledge that the Son of God is God himself.
Do you believe in life after death?
Yes.
So
you have to.
When I used the word avatar the other day, I saw you start shaking your head. You didn't actually talk or say anything, but you were shaking your head, and you obviously you didn't like the word avatar. So you tell me, what if the human body is not just a temporary avatar for a time being whilst we're on Earth, and that we actually have a nature that goes up afterwards, then or even maybe down in some people's case, whatever. What's wrong with this idea of the body just being a temporary vessel like an avatar that something higher is actually driving and that will remain even when the avatar is gone? Why would you shake your head over something like that?
Well, because an avatar is basically, when you say that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, is the avatar of the Father, then that means that it's just the Father. It's no longer the Son has nothing outside of himself, and that's just absolutely not biblical. So I don't like that.
But the human body basically has nothing outside of itself.
The human body, I am
and we return
by myself, and I do my own actions by myself.
But we came from dust and we'll return from dust. And the human body is nothing but dust. It's just it's just a husk. It's just an avatar. It's just something that.
But in this case, in this case, right, the Father is not the Son, and that's the problem that you're seeing.
Father is not the Son, but the Son is the incarnation of the Father.
No.
And just like if you were to actually have a human son, your son would grow into you. No, not grow into you, but
I was about to say that.
No, I didn't express that correctly. But he would grow into another human as you are a human. And so.
But the Father's not a human.
But when he incarnated and took on flesh.
The Father did not incarnate.
Well, he obviously did.
Incarnate. I think there's a delay here. I'm sorry.
I'm stuttering because I'm just so shocked. I don't know what to say. in one of the comments, I said that the Trinity Church is the church built on Philip rather than Peter, and Philip said, "Jesus, show us the Father," because he thought they were two people. He thought they were different people, and Jesus rebuked him. He said to him, "Are you serious, Philip? Are you messing around right now or not? Have I been with you so long time, and you still don't realise that I am the
You want to
Father?"
read that passage?
It's John 4:9,
I know,
14:9.
it is. Yeah, I've already got it. So, John, I was wanting to bring this one up to you anyway earlier, but let's see. He says right here. Let's see which one was it? It's
14:9.
9.
Verse
Okay,
9.
okay. So I was going too far down. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Philip said to him, "Lord, show us the Father, and it will be enough for us." Jesus said to him, have I been with you so long that you still don't know me, Philip? Listen to this. Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. Listen though.
Yeah.
Let's read that. Let's read the rest of it in context. How can you say, "Show us the Father"? Do you believe that I am do you not believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? You see how both, right?
He's in consciousness, and he's got consciousness, and consciousness is between them both.
That's not what, no, because
Well,
again,
when you understand the Trinity and that Father is mind, then he's talking about being in
Father is not
consciousness.
mind. That's what I was trying to tell you earlier, is that the Father, Son, and Spirit, all three have separate minds. But
as emotions have a will of their own, and the mind has a will of its own, and the flesh has a will of its own.
No, that's not. No. My flesh is not going to go against my emotions, but we're not going to go into that. That's fine. What I'm trying to say here is that, again, if this is the same context that he puts us in when we become one with God, right? In John 17. Okay. So if you're saying that God is one person, correct?
100%, yeah.
That's different from us, right?
100%, yeah. As I say, you've got some conjoined triplet.
Right. No. Just get that out your mind, because I've already explained
when somebody says three persons as one being, I can only think of
as one being, triplet. Not as one person. That would be three persons within one person. Okay, that would not be the same. Now listen. Now there has been such thing as triplet, or two people sharing one body and everything else. But that's not what this is. Listen. So let me just ask you this, right? And we can continue on with John 14. But I just want to, I have a question, because if this right here, okay, you said that when Jesus says that I am in the Father and the Father is in me, right? How did you interpret that?
I in the Father would mean that the Father has a conscious perception of him and is aware of his activity and is all-knowing of him. Mm-hmm. And then to say that the Father is in him is to say that he is a conscious being. He's a being with consciousness.
Okay, so not two persons.
Not two persons, no.
Okay. But whenever he says this in John 17, that he is in us and we in him, would that not be two separate persons, or would that be us being God's conscious?
Well, as I say, I don't think that this person of the Father should be necessarily considered a person. He's outside of creation, but he was then
he has a personality, a mind, and everything else. You've already
but he's personified in the Son.
Okay, I'm trying to get you to answer one question. Okay, what I said is that, is God a person? You said yes. Are we a person? You said yes. But whenever Jesus says that I am in the Father and the Father's in me, somehow that's different from him saying that we are in him and he will be with us, but will be in us. It's the same exact way. It's the same exact context, but somehow it's different between the Father and the Son.
I don't really even have a sort of problem understanding that that is the same, and I'm not sure what your objection is to it. I suppose is what I'm saying. What's your actual objection there?
Well, whenever he says, I am in the Father and the Father's in me, that's personhood. That is one
Yeah,
person with another person.
But the way I explained it was that the Father had the consciousness of the Son, and the Son also had consciousness as well.
But again,
And
how would
we
that
are
be
the same.
different in that
Because
context with us and God? How would that be any
it
different?
wouldn't. It wouldn't.
It wouldn't
And
be
that's
different.
what no. That's what I mean. I don't
So
understand
it
why
would be
you'd object
person
to it. It
with
would.
person.
But Jesus says, "Let them be one as we are one."
Yeah.
Let them, and he says that he'll send the Spirit, and then he shall come, and the Father shall come, and so
they are in he is in
yeah,
us, and we are in
yeah,
him. That's what it says.
so yeah, I'm just as Jesus says it of the Father. It's the same applicable to us. Yeah,
Okay, so that would be Jesus as a person in the Father as a person, and vice versa. There's no difference.
I'm not. I don't understand why it has to be two people. If the Father is universal consciousness, he is the mind of everything. He's the mind that was existed before creation.
And so is Jesus, and so is the Spirit. Separately.
No.
Yeah.
Jesus wasn't even there. The Word hadn't.
Jesus wasn't there.
The Word had not become flesh at that point.
Jesus wasn't there from all eternity.
The Word became flesh in the New Testament.
No. Listen, what I'm saying here is that the Son is the Word, and the Word is the Son. They're the same person. So what I'm saying here is that whenever in Colossians 1, listen, in Colossians chapter 1, whenever it says that he was before all things, meaning the Son, Jesus.
I know that you read a bastardized Bible, but get up 1 John 5:7.
Jeez.
Get up 1 John 5:7 and get it up in the King James Bible. Use a real sword.
Use a what?
A real sword, not a butter knife. You're going to get hurt with a plastic butter knife.
What are you relying to?
I'm saying that if you're not,
if ESV is
a plastic butter knife, yeah, it's not a sword. It's not a two-edged sword.
So are you King James only?
I'm King James only, yeah.
I knew it, man. That's where we can't do this battle here, because
get up 1 John. Get up 1 John 5:7.
Listen, I'm not going to keep doing this if we're going to only pick one source. That's not how it's going to be.
Have I complained up till this point?
No, but this is what I'm saying.
Okay.
This is what.
Okay. Well, let's do a study. Let's do a study on 1 John 5:7 in different translations, and let's.
I know what it says, and that is not in the original manuscripts. That verse.
You go for the Sinaitic Codex Vaticanus and Codex.
Yeah, we're not doing the text receptus and all that stuff, because we have earlier manuscripts than we did.
The biblical Trinity is the Father, the Word, and the Holy Ghost. The Son is not part of the biblical Trinity.
The Son is the Word, and I can show you.
The Son,
in the King James Bible.
The Son occurs when the flesh, when the Word takes on flesh.
They're the same person. When the Word emptied himself, it says emptied himself. That's it. That's in the Greek, okay? Emptied himself, okay? So he emptied himself. The Word did. He did. But in John 1, it says that the Word was with God and also God. So with God and also God, right? So if he's with God, that is God with God, okay? Face to face, God with God. Now, when I say face to face, I don't mean like, God, the Father's human face. I shouldn't have even said that, because now I'm just going to confuse you. But
I'm done. I'm done. We're wasting our time. You're late for the party. God revealed his arm, and you're late to the party, and I can't help.
No, I think that would be okay. Wow, did you see that? Did everybody just see that? That's what a coward looks like. That's what a coward looks like. Someone who's not actually willing to go through the scriptures, right, and actually know what they're talking about. And if somebody's just going to leave like that and say this is a waste of time without actually going through the scriptures, do you see how cowardly that is? That's very cowardly. Do you see that? Yeah. These are the kind of people that try to downplay the Trinity and have absolutely no clue what they're talking about. That's what this is. And that's what we're getting into. Okay. So he's wanting to just do KJV. We're not just doing KJV around here. Okay. We're not doing it. So if he wants to just, say that I'm late to the party because he revealed his own, what I did was I gave him Bible. Okay. What I did was I gave him Bible. He's trying to give me philosophy and all that stuff. I'm trying to give him the Bible. Okay. That's what I'm trying to give him is the scriptures. And if he wants to come back at me and say, well, I'm giving you the Bible too. Yeah. You gave me 2 passages. Okay. About this subject. All right. That says that God has an arm, and you just dismiss everything that I just said because you said it's a waste of time. Yeah. So this is somebody who is stuck in their ways, who refuse to listen. And it's just what it is. So yeah, I mean, I've got, we can keep going. I have no problem keeping on going. If anybody else has anything they want to add or jump into this conversation, that'd be great. But that's cowardly. It's absolutely cowardly. You stay for the conversation. That's cowardly. Anyway, now you're welcome to come back on, Mr. Steve. No problem. But we're not going to keep playing these games. Okay, we're gonna see what Scripture actually says. Okay, so step right up. Let's see what else we got. This is going great. Let's see what else we got. Do you find the speaker? Okay. Cool. Now, look, I'm not trying to be rude or anything like that, but that was pretty rude, what he just did. Pretty rude. But you know what? It is what it is. Only God. I've done my part. God can finish. Because somebody like that is not going to listen to reason. It's only by the Spirit of God that the heart will be changed. Anyway, believest thou not that I am in the Father and the Father's in me? The words that I speak unto you, I speak not of myself, but the Father that dwells in me, that dwelleth in me, he does the works. Exactly. But Jesus also does works because he is the bread of life. He is the resurrection. Okay. He has been, John 5, right, 20 and 21, the Father has given him the authority to judge. And again, we have to look and we have to look and see through all of Scripture, right, and define who the Father, the Son, and the Spirit is. Okay, because you notice whenever I would bring up the Word, right, the Word, the Father, the Word, and the Spirit, then he wants to go jump into a passage that's not even found in the original manuscripts because all he reads is the KJV, and I'm not speaking bad when I say this, but he's ignorant of it. It's plain to see. And I would love for him to come back on. I would love to speak with him again. I have no problem with that. But just because the conversation ain't going your way, I think for you to leave like that, I don't think that's right. But anyway, so he said that and see, this is just a crappy argument because, when John 1:14 clearly says, let's just look at it. Let's just look at it. I mean, this is, well, what in the world? I don't know what just happened. Let I'm not sure what just happened. Let me just. Golly, I'm all over the place. Sorry, guys. I was trying 2 different places, trying to stream on 2 separate places, but I wasn't able to tonight. I'll try it again. Okay, so look, John 1. Now, look who the Word is. Okay. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. Okay, and then we can go down to verse 14. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory, glory of the only Son. So we have seen whose glory? The Word's glory. We have seen his glory, glory of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. So the Son is the Word. The Word is the Son. They're the same person. And we can see that in the deep dive of Philippians chapter 2. What's going on, man?
What's happening?
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on? Good to hear. So, question, you said the Word is God, and God is the Word.
Mm-hmm.
If you could enlighten me, please.
What, like how the Word is God?
No, specifically how the Bible is taking it. Not the Word of God and his ascendance. I mean, how the God is the Word outside of what it preaches.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm following. But we can look and see what the Word is. Okay.
We'll play along.
Okay. Well, actually, no. Let's go with this. Let's go in this route. What do you say? Who's the Word?
So I wouldn't put myself on the side of God. I guess that's a simple way of putting it. I wouldn't put myself on God's side if God's side included you being participant in something you were not able to understand. And I think that's very straightforward. Why would you turn the other cheek if you didn't have another cheek to turn? You know what I mean? It's very simple. It's a very simple question. It's not meant to be complex. It's not meant to stump you. It's is there another question other than God's choice?
Well, I mean, I the thing is I was not there. But God has preserved his Word, and God has revealed himself in such way. And the way that he did is how we should study, and we should see exactly what he says about himself. And so that would be how God has revealed himself, as in the way that he revealed himself in the Word of God.
Right. That's how God revealed itself to you. Right. I can see that because in my past, I believe the same thing. I'm wondering, what did God perceive that we couldn't perceive?
Well, I think he revealed himself not just to us, because that would make him a deceiver or a liar if that's not who he actually is. So he presented himself in such a way that we can worship him in spirit and in truth, right? So he wouldn't present himself to humans differently than he would actually be, because again, that would make him a liar and a deceiver.
Right.
So
sorry.
So how he presented himself as the Father, Son, and Spirit in Trinity, not the word Trinity, right? But in the concept of the Trinity, then that would be the triunity, right? So that's what it is. Three, and then unity, they are one. So that's where Trinity comes from. So no, the word Trinity is not in the scriptures at all. but the concept is. And that's how we come up with that kind of phrasing. So how he presented himself is the way he actually is.
So would you be willing to present yourself and your beliefs in actually let's not involve the gospels. Let's say, would you be willing to present yourself in a way that others could not comprehend the gospels? And I can compound on that further, but let's keep it there.
So just go ahead and expound on that, because I'm sorry, I'm just not following where we're going with this.
So I mean, as far as the gospels go, there are many gospels that were specifically excluded from the record, from the biblical canon. There are specific messages that are written, right, that are supposedly excluding not only the canon but the belief in God. There are Christian canons that have been written secular of Christ. So I'm wondering, in your biblical canon, what does Christ provide and what does he not allow others to participate in?
Well, when it comes to the different gospels and everything like that, there are different gospels, right? The Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Peter, the Gospel of Matthew, the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Jesus Christ, right? But if you read those separate gospels, they do not align with the actual gospel. So, like the Gospel of Thomas says, Jesus says, right, in the Gospel of Thomas that he would have to change Mary into a man in order for her to be saved. The Gospel of Peter does not have a resurrection at all. So they actually deny, and these are called the Gnostic Gospels. So that would be different from the canon Gospels, because the four Gospels that we have in our canon today fully align together, and they tell a complete story together.
Right.
So
you're right, Mitch. So I'm curious about the Gospels and the Gnostic beliefs that don't fall into the canon, right? So let's say specifically the Gospels that are excluded from the Bible, let's say, don't include a resurrection, although the prophets that were amongst Christ that weren't part of the Pharisees, they believed in resurrection, and Christ preached almost in a secular view, apart from those separatarians. How does Christ align, or does a belief in Christ align secular from Christ himself, who did not believe in Christian values, who believed in values that were separate from an agnostic viewpoint, that were separate from a Judeo-Christian viewpoint, because that didn't exist? How did Christ center his beliefs without a religious viewpoint?
Well, I think he did. I think he absolutely did. I think he aligned himself with Judeo-Christian values, which is found in the Old Testament law. It's the same law as what he spoke of in the Gnostic Gospels. I mean, not the Gnostic Gospels, the Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Okay, and also in John in some places, but primarily in those.
John.
Do what?
Thank you for not including John.
Well, I include John, but John is he kind of goes off by himself a little bit.
Right.
Matthew, Mark, and Luke tell the complete story together, while in separate ways in their own perspective, which align perfectly.
Do you not see their testimonies as separate from one another? Or if you do see their testimonies as separate from one another, is it not so succinct, their testimonies, that you cannot see them separate from each other?
No, they are absolutely separate from each other, and that's what makes them so credible, is because they're from totally different sources. Like Matthew is an eyewitness, right? Mark takes primarily from Peter and here and there. And Luke takes like all kinds of different testimonies of like, the 500 that Jesus appeared to when he resurrected. So Mark and Luke did not actually meet Jesus, but they were around the eyewitness accounts. So what Mark and Luke
don't separate Luke from John?
Do what?
Sorry.
No,
so you wouldn't separate a gospel from Luke, a gospel of Luke from John, even though that their separation basically unties them both, and that John, from a timeline specifically, John has to be the earliest gospel writer. You don't see that there.
He would be the latest. Mark would be the earliest.
Right.
They were separated. I would say that the Synoptic Gospels and John are all credible gospels, but John would be pretty much by himself, right? Telling the same stories here and there, right? Like the feeding of the 5,000, right? Peter walking on water, Jesus walking on water, certain passages like that, certain stories that are in there, but like Lazarus John is the only one that talks about Lazarus. And so,
so you don't see John, specifically Lazarus, as a gospel from John. You don't see that as an later addition to the Gospels. You see that as something Christ would have been spearheading. Because in my interpretation, it's very obvious from all the Gospels that they are all separate, and those uniquely independent of themselves are in fact independent.
Absolutely. I think they have to be, because if you give some atheists would say that the Gospels rely on each other, and that's just not so. That's just not true, because they didn't have each other's writings at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And so they were written in different times, but they were still written in the first century, around the first century. And so they were writing their own accounts separately. And so they were not together. So, that would kind of go against their belief, which is discrediting the gospel, saying, well, Matthew and Luke got their perspective and just basically had Mark right there and wrote, copied and pasted and everything like that. But, and then John is just like in the 3rd century, so he couldn't possibly be, and that's just not true. All that stuff is just simply not true.
So as I was going to say infidel. I don't mean infidel. I mean someone layman. Maybe layman is a better term. Okay. As a layman, can you please describe to me the difference between John's understanding of Christ and the biblical canon's understanding of Christ?
You talking about the biblical canons of the Gospels?
No, I'm not trying to catch you. I'm not. It's not a gotcha.
I'm trying.
I just mean John.
I don't know if you're talking about like Paul's gospel or Paul's letters or John's letters.
I don't mean any of the apocryphal type. I just mean specifically John's witness versus the other Christian canonical gifts. I mean John's reference, because John is very skeptical. You can understand John in its broader terms without understanding what John really means.
Okay. So the differences would be and how they are the same as well, and how they can be all four connected within telling the same story of Christ and who Christ is, right? So I would say that Mark would be pretty much Mark, Luke, and Matthew would tell the exact same kind of divinity of Christ that John does, but John is like right in your face, right? Like he tells you a lot more about it. So, but here's the thing, right? So you also got to think of the perspective that John has, because he saw the transfiguration while Mark, Luke, and Matthew did not. Right? John saw certain things. He saw him on the cross. He was the only disciple there on the cross. He was there with Jesus in multiple different places. He was the one who first went in to see Jesus, rose from the dead in his tomb. He was the first. He beat Peter, right? And so
wasn't John on the same playing field?
What do you mean?
I mean, Matthew.
Well,
was not Matthew on the same playing field? I mean, he was never a first-hand believer. Nobody believed his first-hand account.
What, like whenever he wrote it? Or
whenever? I mean, what we have today. I mean, everything we have today. People aren't even sure if John wrote his gospel because of Matthew. People are not sure if Luke wrote his gospel because of Matthew, because they copied off of each other. Each of those gospels copied their literature off of each other in order to perform this biblical canon that we are aware of today, which I disagree with wholeheartedly.
Yeah, they didn't do that. They did not write off of each other. They didn't have their
Why?
own. They didn't have those accounts.
Why not? Why? How come?
Well, because they were written in separate areas and separate times, exactly. Right? Separate people.
That's not a good excuse, though, because we're going off of a canon that was canonized probably 1,300 years ago. I don't know, like probably two millennia ago. So how can we go off a canon that was written 2 millennia ago and still put characters' prescriptions into effect without any type of gospel that we can internally know as those who among us swear each other's too, right? The gospels we are aware of are amongst ourselves. They don't have anything to do with Paul to BC.
Okay. But that's the thing, like we know by the evidence that we have, like the studies that we have, right? The actual physical evidences of the manuscripts from the original language and everything like that, like the Dead Sea Scrolls, stuff like that.
Okay, what are the DC evidences though? Because we have the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls are the oldest date that you can put to the Old Testament. Sorry, BC. You can only put the oldest testament of BC to the gospel, the Canonical Gospels, BC.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Sorry.
Yeah. You good. So that they would, yeah. But see, the thing is like right now we have in the New Testament, right? We have we have dates of the earliest manuscripts that we actually have physically copies of.
They don't.
Yeah,
Sorry.
they have them. They have them physically copies from, as early as the earliest 2nd century and the latest of the 1st century. We're still finding new stuff today, but the way that it works is like
the earliest we have.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, the earliest we have is the Canonical Gospels. That's it. That's the earliest. That's the earliest. The Gnos term we have is for the Gnostic Gospels, right? As far as truth goes, what is the earliest testament that you can put on your belief in Christ? What is the ultimate gospel that you have on your Christ?
Well, I just follow, the evidence where it leads historically, right? So Mark was said to be written very early, around the 40s AD. 40s.
We know that's not true. We know it's not 40s. It may be 70s. It may be 70s.
It couldn't.
We know it's not 40s.
No, because Mark was one of the earliest gospels that we have. Actually, he is the original gospel, but he is set even before Paul's earliest, which is Galatians and 1st and 2nd Thessalonians,
which is 40 BC.
Right.
So I'm just wondering what is your limitation on the belief, right? Because we can put dates on Christ all day. What point do you not believe, right?
Well, Christ lived at a certain specific time, and he said certain specific things. So I want to know what exactly he said. The earliest
me too.
he actually said it. So that's the thing. Like that's why we have to put dates on them, because we have to know when they were written and where they came from, and so we have to know the dates and everything. Like that's why we put dates on them. We have to.
So one last question. What for you? What puts a date on things, and what for you is undateable? What for you is absolute data, and what for you puts it out range of data you can believe in? I just want to know your personal beliefs.
So so the stuff that we have, and it's been shown historically, the documents that we have, everything else, all the evidence that we have, those are the things that I believe in, because they're said to be coming straight from the mouth of Jesus. And if they are straight from the mouth of Jesus, then I absolutely believe what they say. Even if they come from different people jotting the stuff down, at least we know that they were eyewitness accounts. And that's why, again, we have to put dates on them, because we have to know who wrote them. And if Matthew and John were actually eyewitnesses, and we know this, then we can take their accounts to heart, because we know that they wrote them. And if they were eyewitness accounts, then we know that that's what Jesus actually said, to the best of their memory, right? Because they had to write it after Jesus had already ascended, right? So even Mark, right? So Mark didn't actually meet Jesus, neither did Luke, because Luke was Paul's companion, but Mark was Peter's companion. And so we can basically say that Mark's gospel was basically very closely Peter's gospel, because he got a lot of his stuff from Peter. And other places here and there and everywhere, just kind of. So that's why Mark and Luke are so incredibly important, because they come from other eyewitness accounts rather than just one. So we can't just look at Matthew and John and be like, man, you two are crazy and stupid, right? No, we have other people that's actually gave their accounts in the Gospels of Mark and Luke, and they are distinct in a way where it's their own gospel, but it tells the exact same story, and we get from beginning to end the same story all the way through. In which not the Gospels, they don't.
I think you're a little mistaken there. I think if you were to combine Mark and Matthew's gospel, I don't think you would get the same belief you would as most Christians believe. I think if you were to start the conversation with Mark and Matthew's gospel and were to recite them, I don't think that Christ or whoever were to recite that information would be recycling Christ's experience. I think that Mark's experience and Mark's gospel does the opposite. It proves that there is an experience, a gospel lineage outside of Christian Judeo beliefs. I think that the fact that I think that one fact is that none of the gospels can correlate with each other. Period. I think that once you read John's gospel, you say, hey, you know what? I think that this is actually part of Luke's gospel, except that John added parts to it. What I'm saying is I don't think that the gospels are unique in any way, or if you could provide me with a unique gospel experience. I don't think that the four gospels are unique at all. I think if you were to look backwards in not just Judeo-Christianity, look back at gospels according to gospel, I guess. They used to believe in multiple gods. It used to be a polytheistic religion. And I think that the monotheistic religion was eaten away at slowly. And I think if once you see it through that lens, you see all of the monotheistic teachings. You see that Luke wasn't taught to create a monotheism, but it was created to separate itself from polytheism.
Yeah. So to say that. Okay, so to say that the religion that the Bible comes from, and maybe I don't know if I'm getting you correctly here, but correct me if I'm wrong, that the Christianity that came from the Old Testament, say, right, and the Jews and all them, and the children of Israel, saying that they were more polytheistic. Is that what you were saying? That the Jews and the Israelites were more polytheism than they were monotheism?
I'm not picking one or the other. I'm just trying to point it out.
Okay, so you are trying to point out the polytheism versus monotheism.
Well, I'm just not necessarily that specifically. I'm just pointing out the differential of opinions versus secularism and potential polytheism.
Okay, well, so to say that, I'm just going to say what I'm thinking here. So when the Jews and the Israelites and everything else, if we're going to say that they were polytheists, I think in some points they were originally, and not originally, but as they went on, because again, God specifically punished them for being polytheists, for worshiping other gods, and he actually, every single time he puts them down, he punishes them, right? But
it's true.
Who was the God?
It was Yahweh.
But who was
right?
the God that revealed himself? Like in Genesis, there was only one God.
It's
right?
Yahweh.
Exactly.
Yahweh provoked himself into being used as a name, at least.
Yeah. So that was their name for him. And so that's why we need the name Jesus, is because Jesus is in all different languages when Yahweh is not. Yahweh can only be translated into Hebrew. That's the only way to do it. And so that's why Jesus was given the name that is above every name, that every knee should bow and every tongue should confess, because all languages and tongues can speak his name when they can't speak Yahweh's name unless they want to speak Hebrew. But again, like the original God that came to Abraham was one God, and Abraham threw away his paganism and he came straight to God. And he believed on him, which it was counted to him as righteousness in Genesis 4 and Genesis 15. So the whole thing where, they believed in one God, but then they fell away to false idols, and then God punished them. And then they believed in one God, which is the only true God, the God that, gave them everything. And then they would go back to the paganism, and then they would be punished. So it was just like an up and down hill kind of battle with God trying to prove himself as the one and only true God, and them not taking that, them taking that very lightly. And so that's why they were punished so many different times. So that's why Christianity is so heavily based on monotheism, but yet also Trinity, triunity, three persons in one being. So we take the one being from the Old Testament, and we can see the three personages go even in being explained, even in the Old Testament. And then it's just completely revealed in the New. So I would say that the origins of Christianity is strict monotheism. Okay. All right. Well, this was eventful. Okay. Well, wow. Okay. Is anybody even here? I know that there's like 2 people still. I mean, is there anybody else that wants to come on and say anything? I'm just going to give a last roll call to come in and let's talk about the Trinity. I'll give it a few more minutes and then we can jump off of here if nobody comes up. But yeah, man, this is crazy because when we speak about like evidences and stuff like that, like we got to get down to the root of it, right? Like, what does the Bible say? What does the Bible say about who God is? And it's so incredibly clear that it's, I don't understand how anybody can get anything else out of it. And I'm not saying that this guy that just got off, we wouldn't even talk about the Trinity. I'm talking about the last guy, Mr. Steve. I think that's just, again, if you read the scriptures in a whole, then you have to come to the conclusion of the Trinity because it's undeniable. You just have to. Three persons and one being. And the dancing that so many people do is insane. It is insane, especially oneness, right? And so, and the more you talk to people, the more that the truth actually comes out on what they actually believe. Because, you know, a lot of oneness believe in just KJV only. They won't look at anybody anywhere else. And that's because the KJV and the New King James, if they're even with that one, some aren't. But even with the King James version, right? That's not the one all be all. Okay. That's why we have so many different ones. And thank God we do. And that proves that God has preserved his word because we have different translations and we don't just have the one King James. Because if we only had the one King James, then the manuscripts that we have, the earliest manuscripts that we have by the Dead Sea Scrolls and other places, that there's no way, because the Greek and the Hebrew would completely be cut off from, or not completely, but it would discredit, and it has discredited in a lot of different places, the King James. Okay. And so if we're going to look at passages that are absolutely not even in the original manuscripts and that were added, right? I'm not going to go down that road because I'm not going to play the game. Okay. We don't play games on this channel. Okay. If you have evidence, biblical evidence against the Trinity, let's talk about it. Let's look at it. Let's talk about it. The whole philosophy stuff that God has to fit in our little bubble and have to be just like us, that doesn't logically follow, because who is like unto God? That's what God says. He says, who is like me? Who is like me? Nobody is like me. No one is like me. Okay. Let's see if I can find that, because I think that's in Isaiah 40. Let me get to it. Who is like unto me? So again, if anybody wants to jump on, let's talk. That'd be great. We got a few more minutes. But I do want to find this though. Because again, like God says, who is like unto me? Right? There is none like him. And he says this so many different times in the scriptures. Who is like him? Nobody. Let's see. Man, this is great right here. All right, so Isaiah 40, 21. Let me look that up on here. Let's see. And this can be for the people that are going to watch this video in the future. Mostly. Yeah. Verse 18. Look at this. To whom then will you liken God? Or what likeness compare with him? An idol, a craftsman, right? Casts it in the gold and a goldsmith, overlays it with gold and casts for it silver chains. I can't talk. I can't read. So verse 21, do you not know? Do you not hear? Has it not been told you from the beginning, right? Have you not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he who sits above the circle of the heavens, of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them like a tent to dwell in, right? Who brings princes to nothing and makes the rulers of the earth as emptiness. Okay. So this is just stuff like, again, he says it again here, verse 20, verse 25, to whom then will you compare me, that I should be like him, says the Holy One? Lift up your eyes on high and see who created these. Who created these? So again, who is like unto God? So we cannot look at man and worldly things and try to compare it to God and try to compare God to it. That doesn't work. And you're going to constantly fall each and every time that you try to do something like that, because it's not going to work. It ain't going to work. Who is like unto me? Nobody. Nobody is like our God. So no, he's not going to create something to be like him. So no, the Trinity does not have to align with us and how the human body works or whatever. That's not how that works. Yes, we were made in the image and likeness of God. We were made in his image. But again, who is like unto him? Because he is Trinity. He is triune in his nature. He is complex in his nature. He's three persons in one being. And we do not have to compare that to us to make it make sense. Because if we try to do that, then you're not going to make it make sense. And you're going to miss the party, or whatever he said earlier. Late to the party. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, who is like unto me? None. So if we're going to sit here and try to have a conversation saying, you know, let's make sense of the Trinity. Okay. So how can God be three? Wouldn't that be the same as humans? No, because God is not like unto us. God is not like unto us. Okay. So we must get out of that little box, that little bubble that we try to put God in. And we have to acknowledge who he actually is. And that is the Trinity, the triunity of God. Okay. So like and subscribe to this video, share it. It wasn't that great because, you know, one of them, we had a decent discussion, but then just ran away. He just ran away. And then the other one, we was just talking about all kinds of other stuff. So we didn't really get to a great discussion here. But the question in the title would be the Trinity, confusing or beautiful? I would say absolutely beautiful. And that's my conclusion. So yes, the Trinity is true. Like, subscribe, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.